Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. So this one's going to be very interesting, very different than usual, I have a feeling, and hilarious. So buckle up. Jeff and I met on, I was just about to start recording and I said, I don't even remember how the fuck we met. He's like, on LinkedIn, we both swiped right. So that's what you guys are in for, right? So our first,
Oh my.
because he has a marketing company called Redshirt, correct?
Redshift.
Redshift. Sorry,
Yeah.
Redshift. And he had reached out to me asking if he could just ask some like random general questions about marketing, like what we're doing, what's working, what's not working, and where we feel like marketing is going to be heading. And this was back in late 2024.
Yeah.
And we got on with the intention of talking for what, 30 minutes? And we were on for
Maybe.
like 2.5
Yeah.
hours
Yeah.
just
It just,
talking about
it just,
random
it was like
shit.
we hopped in our toboggans and we took off.
Yeah. So I'll let you go ahead and like do a little bit of an intro of, who you are, what you do, what your company does, and then we'll go from there.
All right. So I'm Jeff Lizik and I'm the president of Redshift Digital Marketing. And we also have Redshift Local now, which focuses on um, anything to do with your home. So home builders, home services, home remodeling, and it's a local SEO agency. So it just focuses on local markets around the country. Um, Man, I think I've told you my history. I got started out of school with Kimberly Clark Corporation, and I was a category manager there. So that's where I learned everything about persuasion and how to use pricing and placement in stores to persuade people to buy the products that we want them to buy. Then I went and I ran the market research team for Heinz Frozen Foods, but I worked for AC Nielsen. Then somehow I accidentally launched at the time what was the largest sports and fitness expo. We did that at the convention center downtown. So that was crazy. We had like 200 some booths. We brought in a half pipe. We did an indoor triathlon. We had all kinds of stuff. That was crazy. Then what did I do? Then I
And what did I do?
totally totally by accident started an e-commerce business. Did I tell you that story? So,
I don't know.
so the e-commerce business, so right after college, my wife and I went to University of Pittsburgh. She went to Carlow College, and they're both down on in Oakland, like that's part of the city. And there, some kid had a Christmas party in our condominium complex, and all these it was all college kids, and some kid was selling paintball stuff because he had to get Christmas gifts for his family. So I went. I had no like this is back in I don't know maybe 2000, and I had no eBay was just a thing. I didn't know anything about paintball, but I went and I looked what he had. I looked it up on eBay and I was like, all right. So I got it for 150. I sold it for 800 in a week. I was like, man, this is easy. So I bought $6,000 worth of product that I never should have been able to buy, but I got in with a manufacturer in China. Like back then, you had to have a retail store because they didn't just want you selling online. So I took a photo of an old Indian grocery store that had gone out of business and photoshopped the paintball store's name like a sign across the top. Got in with this Chinese manufacturer for 6 grand, and by the end of that year, we had sold 4 million online.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I
So
did
the
that.
creativity just in that little bit of sentence is like, if you want to, you will. You'll figure a way out.
I mean, I look at it as there's enough money in this world that if you really want your piece of the pie, you can come up with a way to go get it. Like, so I did that, sold that to my largest supplier. Was like, I can't stand employees. This is ridiculous. Worrying about cash flow is ridiculous. So I took like 6 months off, went back to corporate America as a director of sales operations, hated it. After the first week, I was like, fuck this. I can't do
Yeah,
this.
because I feel like
So
once you leave it, you're like,
it's,
I can't do it. It's
yeah,
soul crushing. Like your soul knows this freedom of not having to do it anymore. And it's like, mm-mm.
yeah, no, and that's what it is. People, I think there's a misconception. A lot of people create a misconception around money where to me, the money is the freedom. It's the freedom of not having to have a boss every day. It's the freedom of being able to tend to personal things when I need to. Like to me, that's the idea. Like I don't need a Bugatti. I don't need all of these luxury items. I just want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it.
That is
And
freedom.
so then I started a bunch of affiliate sites, was crushing it, then got hit by Google Penguin and Hummingbird and got wiped out. And then I started my own agency. And then I merged with another agency, or I merged with a business consulting firm. It ended up becoming an agency. And then I acquired the one that I have now, and we've rebranded as Redshift. So Redshift, I guess it's a cosmological redshift, would be when a universe is expanding and not contracting. A blue shift would be when it's contracting. So we took the name Redshift for growth. So,
I love
and it's
this.
like
I knew
it's the
this was going to
longest
be a good
wave of
recording. I
light.
knew it.
Like the red shift is the longest wave and the blue is the shortest. Um, so that's how that came about. And here we are. And then COVID hit and we could go to the office every day. We went 5 days a week and we just went fully remote in the past 2 months.
So
All right. So
is your team now still fully remote?
yeah. So we rented, like, we have a co-working space and we'll go there a couple times a month and that's it, which has been awesome.
And what's your human design again? You're a generator or a mani-gen?
I'm a manifesting generator.
What's your profile lines?
Huh?
Do you know what your profile lines are?
I don't think, do I, Julie?
Do I? Let me see if I got it.
Okay, while she's pulling up that, I have some questions just from your perspective as a leader with first off, how big is your team currently? Like how big of a company?
So we had 16. Right now we have 5.
Okay, so you've downsized a little bit.
So so I had a partner that left the business and we completely started reinventing ourselves. So we created Redshift Local, which is only going to be local SEO. Redshift Digital Marketing, as it stands, is going to become a Shopify e-commerce only agency. That's where I got my start. That's what I know. We launched Urban Myth Apparel, which
is so
is
good.
There's he just dropped an Area 51 series,
Oh my
like
God.
aliens. So what it is I went to our lead creative and I said, can you do like Bigfoot, but put streetwear on them? Like a gold chain, Jordans, like deck this dude out. I think we can make t-shirts. Well, before you knew it, it became Urban Myth Apparel. And now we drop 2 new urban myths or urban legends every month. Then we tell the whole story on the site and then we sell the t-shirts. And the creatives are just out of this world. They're freaking awesome. So
I mean,
we have that.
I looked at this the last time we were on a call and we're like workshopping ideas. I'm like, oh, what about this one? What about this one? What about this one? He's like, I'm going to send it to my guy right now.
So I've come to I never wanted a big company. Like I've always known once you get to that like 16, 20 people, you start to get clicks and you start to have like little groups of people that have differences with other groups of people. So this gave us an opportunity to scale down in size, but also increase our opportunities for revenue.
I like
So,
it.
and it also gives me the opportunity to have other revenue channels.
Yeah. Which kind of goes back to like, as business owners, it's not just like, oh, we have to build out this massive team or we have to do business in this way. Ultimately, running a business that is aligned for you and what you want and not what the world tells you. Because most people will look at that and be like, why would you downsize?
Yeah. Well, who was it? Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. This week, I just saw a post where he said that someone asked him if he was upset he wasn't the highest paid quarterback and he didn't get his 60 million a year. And I guess he took 55 or whatever. And he said, what do I need $5 more million a year for? He's like, I'm set. Like, why do I need that? That's just, he didn't say this, but it's just ego at that point. And that's how I look at it. I want to have fun and I don't want to be tied into having to be tied to the business constantly. I still am, but I'm trying to get out of that.
And this
AI
is,
has
I
given us a
think,
big opportunity too.
oh yeah, huge, huge. But I think that this is like this concept of money, right? And how you're talking about like money, or people have a fucked up sense of what money is and what it isn't. And what, like, money is a tool. So I always equate money to AI to people when I'm talking to people. I'm like, money is a tool, AI is a tool. Like, money
Right.
amplifies who you already are. If you're a shitty fucking person, you're just going to be a shittier person. If you're a good person, you're going to be a fucking fabulous human being, right? Like, it just amplifies who you already are. So if you don't like who you are, change that probably before you like take on a lot of money, right? But then if
Right.
you
Well,
think about it in
also
terms of
it's harder to
AI,
manage.
like, yeah, yeah. But like the AI, same thing. People are like, oh, AI is evil. It's but AI can make your life so much fucking easier. It's all in how you use it, right? Like
Yep.
good people and evil people use money for good things and evil things. Same thing with AI. It's just a fucking tool.
Right. Yeah. It's not a part of us. It's just something we use to help us achieve our objectives. And if your objective is a $30 million mansion, great. If your objective is to be able to do what you want when you want, great. Some people do that on a minimum salary, a minimal salary. So you're right. Yeah, it's all about each individual. But I think a lot of people look at money in a negative light.
Yeah, because
Definitely.
it's got some negative connotations and some, some negative stories. And depending on what your experience was growing up, that's kind of how it shaped you, right? If
Yeah.
you were programmed that money doesn't grow on trees, or money is control, or money is that, or it's this, and that's the lens that you're looking at of it.
Right. Right. Yeah. So when I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth, and then my parents got a divorce, and my dad took everything. And then it was, what can I do to make money? I mean, I sold drugs, I stole things. Like, I was 19 years old looking at what was a minimum of 10 years in prison if I was found guilty at 19, because I did have anything I wanted, and when it was taken away, I didn't know what to do, like how to deal with it. So then it just became, okay, what can I do to make a shit ton of money? And I just did it. And when I was 18, 19 years old, yeah, I definitely I totally went down the wrong path, but but I got that straightened out. I'll tell you what, thinking of seeing your girlfriend and your mom from the other side of a visitor cell for the next how many years that was a game changer. That was a total game changer for sure.
And also
So
like acknowledging you for like making that shift and that change, because some people never make that shift and they have to go through that experience and be in behind the bars for a while before they decide. And then sometimes they keep repeating that same pattern and keep going back into it. But you choose differently. You were like, no, that's
so
not the direction we're going.
so I got busted. And then you know what I did after that? You guys probably don't remember this, but there was a guy, Don Lapre. He ended up getting arrested, and I think he hung himself in prison. But he was the guy that taught people. He had an infomercial at nights, and his whole thing was, you run classified ads, you rent a 1-900 psychic line from him, you run the ad. So if it's $3 a minute, you get like a buck 75, and he gets a buck and a quarter. So I actually started doing that in college. And I decided that I was going to run these ads for this 900 psychic line up and down the West Coast in gay news weeklies, like, like the city paper, but they had
Yeah.
ones for gay communities in California, and I ran those ads, and I would just get checks like crazy. And it was these are the days when I would get photo ready artwork between two pieces of cardboard and mail it to the publications to run the ads. So that was my transition out of doing the wrong things and starting to actually make money and have a system and process behind it.
Oh my goodness.
Holy shit.
Like, I am here for this. I'm like,
Yeah, I did that. That was fun.
I knew this was gonna be good, but I didn't know it was gonna be this good. Like,
so through
Yeah.
the evolution of like when you first started to where you are now, What would be like your top, if you were talking to like your 18-year-old self, what would be like the top advice you would give him?
Man, so that's so crazy because it would depend on if my 18-year-old self lived then or now.
Then,
Because then we didn't have the internet and we didn't have the opportunities. Now the story would be completely different. But back then, honestly, the advice would be learn how to sell. Because if you learn how to sell, you're comfortable with people, you're comfortable talking to people, you start learning about persuasion and psychology for when it comes to selling either yourself or your product or whatever. So I think that learning to sell was probably the biggest key. That was probably it.
How much of selling is like innate and natural to you and for you? Because I feel like we're drawn more to things that are inherent and natural to us.
Um, I would, man, that's tough. So I can sit down and have a conversation with anybody, and I guess I've always been this way. That's why I always did things. But that's from a business or a personal perspective. But like, put me in a social setting, I'm totally an introvert. But that ability to sell, oh, I sold Cutco knives.
Me too,
Do you
bro.
remember
Me
those?
too.
Okay, so you know what I did? So did you have bonuses? So if they got so many points, then you could get them extra items and give it to them. Well, so I sold my ass off and I built up all the points and I would have them shipped to a relative that placed an order. And I'd take all that extra inventory and I'd sell it myself and then make, five, six, 7,000 that month. Like, so I was totally just, so I did that. I sold windows once. So this is a good one. So I started selling windows with this company, and you go to all this training, and it's all rah rah rah. And the my trainer calls me on a Friday, and he's like, "We have a sales call tomorrow at noon." And I'm like, "Well, I'm
So
not
is this
going."
like door to door?
No, no, people would like sign up at like home and garden shows or in a
Okay.
mall to have somebody come sell them windows. So he's like, um we have an appointment tomorrow. And I'm like, well, no. I'm like, there's a Penn State game. I can't I can't go on
No,
a sales call.
no.
We go to this lady's house. Mind you, I will say it was my last day with the window company. We got to this lady's house. I asked her if I could sit in the living room and watch the Penn State game. And I did. And then so this is how far back this is. I leave that call. I'm driving down the street. I stop at a gas station and I call my now wife from a payphone. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going back to this job. I'm done. Yeah, that was I had a couple of things like that. We worked at oh, that was another thing. I guess I did a lot of things that put me in that position because we worked for a telemarketing um fundraising company. So we worked there together and I couldn't stand going in. I hated having a boss even back then. This is when we were in college. And so she goes to work and I don't go and I called them and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to come in today. I'm having a problem with my eyes. And they're like, what's wrong with your eyes? I'm like, I don't see myself coming to work anymore. And so
You
that was my
remember
last
Jim
day
Kane?
there.
He used to say he had anal glaucoma. He didn't see his ass coming into work. Or he didn't see
I
his
just
ass doing whatever the thing was, right?
so I was always that rebel that if I wasn't happy doing what I was doing, I just wasn't gonna do it.
Yeah.
But I guess it did. The innate, like the sales part, yeah, that comes easy, but I think I got a lot of it out of from working at Kimberly Clark. I mean, their training and their sales training, I mean, them Campbell's, they're second to none. And a lot of what they taught was fact-based selling, which everything we did was by the numbers. And that just parlayed right into marketing. And what I did was I took everything I had learned back then, everything I learned about how Walmart operated, how all of these stores got people to buy product, and how the manufacturers pushed product through, I applied that online, and that's why we grew so fast
Mm.
because I was doing things that people hadn't done online before. I ended up consulting eBay on how to structure their sporting goods category for the consumer, and I was the third company in the world to beta third-party selling on Amazon back then. I
Nice.
think a lot of that just came from my experience at retail from working for Kimberly Clark. So that's where I got my sales training too. And it just amplified what was already innate.
What do you think is very similar to, back when you first started to now being in the online space? What do you think is still kind of the same thing when it comes to sales and like the psychology of selling? Because you hear all, and I ask this
Oh,
because you
so
hear
none of it's ever
all,
changed. I actually talk about this a lot. Nothing when it comes to sales and marketing has ever changed. All of the principles, and it's one of my issues today with a lot of marketers, and I'd say it's the majority of marketers. We have to learn where everything came from. And marketing in the 20s, 30s, and 40s is no different than it is now. The channels have changed and the methods have changed, but the process behind it, the thought process, the psychology, the persuasion, it's all exactly the same. And really, nobody has new techniques. If you look and you watch, so I don't know if you guys have a lot of this, but we have a lot of people that install showers like in a home, like they'll redo a small bathroom. So it'll be like no money down, 99 a month for 3 years, or like, but they all still use the same deal of trying to create a price perception that's just an incredible deal. And they do it fast. They do it in a day. They do it in 2 days. So they're hitting a pain point. Like they know that people don't want their lives disrupted. So they're going in, they're doing it cheap and they're doing it quick. And that's no different than the guy that was selling his voodoo formula from the back of a wagon. He was going after problems and telling them how great of a deal he had. And it's still the same thing. We just now do it on video. Well, it's always been in writing. So, but we're doing it on video and we're doing it online and we have landing pages, but none of it's changed. The principles are all the same. So whether it's sales or marketing, it's still all, and it's all perception. And
yeah.
that's another part of it, being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and be able to see it from their perspective, which is really identifying their state of mind, their emotional state, and what their pain points are. And if once you can do that, then you can pretty much sell anything to anybody,
This
which
is like
means
the
you have to
most
know.
intriguing conversation, I think.
I think it's also like really refreshing to hear because you hear like 30,000 different ideas on sales and marketing as a business owner. Oh, do this technique. This technique will do this. This technique will do that. Do this storytelling. Do this, do that. And it's like everybody has their same thing, but to hear it from you to be like, it's the same thing, just put it in a different way.
Well, like you read scientific advertising, you read breakthrough advertising, you read Ogilvy, and then you read cash advertising, which takes all of that information and pretty much breaks it down for the internet. Like there's only you don't need to be an expert, and you only need to really understand a few key concepts to take yourself to another level. But yeah, I
What are
can't
those
stand
key
it that
concepts?
so it's understanding that everything you're selling people a solution. They have a problem, you're a problem solver. They have a pain point, but we have to be able to understand, articulate, and really grasp what that pain point is from an emotional perspective. So once we really understand that pain point and we understand their frame of mind, then we can give them a solution to their problem that makes them feel good. And that's all. That's really what those principles are. But like breakthrough advertising is where the awareness ladder came from. So does the person even know they have a problem? They know they have a problem, but they don't know they have a solution. So walking through that awareness ladder, and it's understanding the different levels of each consumer. But at the end of the day, it's understanding their mindset. How how big of a pain point is the problem that you're solving for them? And then how do you solve it so it's the least amount of effort on their part to give them the result that they want that they haven't been able to get? And then the scientific advertising gets into testing and all of that, like things of that nature. But I mean, I look at it and say it's not rocket science. The tools have all been here. And if you're in marketing, you really should be familiar with all of these concepts in these books that were written. I mean, now we're going to be like, in 15 years, we're going to say 100 years ago.
So what if you have someone like, let's say you've got someone new that joins the team and you see that they've got an astronomical amount of potential, but they're missing some of these like foundational pieces. What would be like the top two or three things that you would say to them, or like the top two or three books that you would recommend?
I would totally recommend the ones I just said. Ogilvy on advertising, scientific advertising, and breakthrough advertising. And then I'm big on videos and having the team watch videos so that somebody's teaching them something so that I don't have to, because I'm not going to teach it as good as somebody that's what they do. So there's a few key videos out there that I would have them watch also. So there's one person out there that I see that articulates all of that original marketing principles better than anybody, and it's Sabri Subi. He owns an agency in Australia, which is now worldwide, but he articulates it very well. So we have a course from him, and I have people watch that. But it's I will definitely say, and this goes back to the leadership thing, the mindset of the younger generation is hard to grasp, and sometimes it's hard to figure out how to teach them. So I'd rather have like somebody that really knows what they're doing, that's put it out there, and let them learn from that. Just point them in the right directions to get the information they need to know to excel.
What makes it the mindset of the younger generation challenging for to teach them? Is it the way that they learn, or what's the challenge for you?
All right, I'm going to sum this up based on I've actually seen questions on Twitter and Reddit. Like, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this question has come up. I've seen it a few times. I'm like, this is insane. But people are like, I want to know from people that grew up in the 70s and 80s, did you really leave your house and do what you wanted to do all day?
The whole
And
like,
it's
did you drink
like,
out of the garden hose and all that stuff?
yeah. And people
Yeah.
like I see that question more and more now on social. I always answer them because like we didn't wear helmets and we're okay. At least I think we're okay. I don't know. We didn't wear elbow pads and knee pads, and like we did we would hop on our bikes and leave as soon as we got up or right after we had breakfast. And then it was always be back by dinner. And then if you weren't back by dinner, it was be back before the streetlights went out. Like that was
Yeah.
the
Like
deal.
the 10 o'clock news was like, hey, do you know where your kids are?
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Like the last thing of the night to come on the hey, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?
yeah. And if you're
That's
not
fucking
there,
real.
they start calling your best friends and or like the house you hang out at the
The
most.
neighbors, yep.
Yeah, but so I think that it's the mentality. There's a different mentality between Gen X and the younger I think I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a lot that aren't like me, but I'm willing to take any risk. And I think a lot of that just came from growing up in an era where we could do what we wanted to do. Like if you wanted to climb up on the roof of the school, you climbed up on the roof of the school and you started a fire. Like, like, and like I mean, think of like kids did anything they could think of back then. And there was nobody watching us. There were no cameras. There were no cell phones. Nobody could video. We could do whatever we wanted all day, every day. And it was
There was
ridiculous.
no proof. At the end of the day, there was no proof of what happened.
Right. Yeah. And that was just how it was. So we didn't think, I mean, we never thought anything of it. So I think it's that whole mindset of I can pretty much do anything I want versus a limited mindset of how am I going to do that? How am I going to how am I going to learn that? That's going to take forever. And it's empowering them and giving them the tools that I know already work so that they can then go and learn it on their own.
Yeah.
I think learning by experience is better. I would rather you watch a video and then execute something than me try to teach you to do something and then next time you ask me if I can do it for you. I would rather throw them to the dogs and say, have at it, figure it out. Here's the tools you need to do it. And actually, at Kimberly Clark, and I think I got this from them, and it was super beneficial. We didn't actually go to corporate training until we were there 9 months. So we were out in the field selling for 9 months before we went to a corporate training. And the whole idea was, A, we were figuring it out on our own. We had a district manager that would help us, but he wasn't with us every day. But we were also coming up with all the questions that we needed answered. So we either figured it out for ourselves during that 9 months, or we went to, someone else on the team to give us the answer, or we took the things we couldn't figure out to corporate, and you would go to a 2-week corporate training in Neenah, Wisconsin. That was crazy. Where it was the first time I flew into an airport with 2 gates. We had to fly into Appleton, and then we stayed from like a
I
Sunday
used to live
till
up near there.
a Friday. Oh,
So
did you? Yeah.
I
Okay.
actually lived in
Yeah.
Marshfield for like a year.
There was
And
a
I worked
bar that was made out of plywood. There was nothing on the outside. The floor was plywood. The
yeah,
walls, the outside was plywood. It was crazy. I was like, man, I'm in the middle of nowhere. And this is
that's
like in the
Wisconsin.
mid 90s,
Mhm.
96. Yeah, that was crazy. But I felt like that way of learning and figuring it out and only asking questions, because when I was the new kid on the block, I didn't want to ask everybody questions. I wanted to figure it out. And that's always stuck with me, as I would rather throw them to the wolves and let them figure it out on their own. And if they put in a great effort and they can't figure it out, then come ask. And I'll help you through that thought process, but I don't want to do it for you. And not everybody's cut out for that.
Yeah,
But
it's
those are the
it
ones
kind
that
of,
have the drive.
yeah. It kind of reminds me of my boys. Like one will come with me already with a solution, and the other one's like, "Well, I'm not sure." And then when we start talking through it, he'll come up to with his own solution, but it's just like having the process to talk through it.
Yeah. And well, I've had a lot of employees that struggled with, bring me your problem, bring me your 3 top solutions, and tell me which one you would choose. I've had so much trouble getting people to grasp that and do it. Like it's difficult, but when you have the person that'll do that, that's the person that's putting in the extra effort and they want to learn and they want to grow.
Well, I think it's also difficult too because the kids aren't taught like if you have this thing at the palm of your hands and any question that you have, it can be answered for you. So problem solving is a real it's a thing that doesn't really happen, right? Like you're not
Well,
Emily and I have had this conversation. I can't tell you how many times. And I'm like, maybe because she grew up in the Amish culture and I grew up, my dad's a farmer. And I'm like, yo, we had to grow up figuring shit out. Like we didn't have people being like, oh, here, let me show you, right? It was like, okay, I'll show you one
yeah,
time. And then if you don't get it, like you better figure it out.
right. Well, see, but what I struggle with is because my mom is the best example of this. She is the queen of it. She'll be like, how do you do this? And I'm like, did you Google it? And she gets so mad because my answer is always, did you Google it? But there isn't a problem that we could come across in business today that you can't Google the answer. Or now you can't talk to AI to get the answer. So why are you asking me? You have
Yeah.
all the tools at your disposal to figure it out. Wait a minute. So Amish, where?
Indiana, born and raised.
Darn.
Yeah.
Well, because you have to, I'm in Pittsburgh. So we have the Ohio
Oh, so
Amish,
you're real close.
we
You're real
have
close.
Amish country over
Yeah.
towards the middle of the state. I mean, yeah, that
That's a
was,
different version, but yeah. It's
well,
this.
Ohio's Amish mafia. Like that's,
Oh my goodness, and we're not gonna go down that trail today. We gotta wait till we're not recording so I can really tell you how I feel about
that
that.
show was awesome.
Yeah,
From
there's
an
a
entertainment
whole
standpoint, yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's big here because actually, even in this neighborhood, the white van shows up in the morning and all the Amish guys get out, and they're the ones doing all the construction, all the home improvement. Like they're the ones doing all that work around, like in this area. It's big where they come in, and we have actually have a lot of Amish like stores where they're selling like furniture and all that kind of stuff. Okay, we save this for another day because I could tell this could get deep. Um,
Yeah, it's getting deep, but it goes back to like having to figure it out, right? We didn't have
yep,
like I didn't have access to the technology. I didn't know. Like I had no idea. I just knew I was gonna figure it out. I was gonna leave and I was gonna figure it out. It didn't matter. And
yeah,
Julie, we've had this these conversations many of times. Is like people lack that problem solving, and we sit here and we're like, it doesn't matter. We're gonna figure it out one way or the other. Like eventually we'll figure it out.
the problem solving skill is, I would say, the one that I see lacking the most for people that just aren't hitting the mark. And I was
But
just
it's
talking about
also
it this
such an
morning.
easy thing to teach. Like I could teach someone to problem solve as easy it is for me to like make a cup of coffee. Like
But
it's not
some
fucking
people
difficult.
aren't going to learn it, and it's either because they don't want to or because they've never been challenged like that before.
But I also think that it comes down to the point of like we were talking about human design earlier. Like everyone's different, everyone learns differently. So some people need a different approach. Just like Emily was saying, like she's got one kid that's like, and I know which one she's talking about, that's like comes to her and is like, I don't know how to do this. And it's like, bro, like we've had this conversation 17 times, you know how to do it, but like what's the problem? Right. And the other kid comes with like 5 solutions and just doesn't know which solution he wants to pick.
Right. So, but the people that don't come up with solutions, I find it harder to get them to do that, no matter how many times they're shown the way.
Part of that,
I-
I think part of that can be worked through their development. Like that's their skill to develop, right? And so
right.
as leaders, when you do see that, you get to choose of like, okay, do I want to spend the time to develop them or continue to put up with this? And it's definitely something that can be developed, but it does take time and lots of patience if you don't have the patience to develop that skill within them.
Well, and I'm horrible at that because I'm not,
But at least you know that, right?
I'm the
At least you're not.
visionary. I'm not the one that they can take the time to teach, but that's why I've come up with tools and I say, go watch this video. You'll learn it from here. Like,
Yeah.
because I don't have the bandwidth mentally to teach like that.
Yeah,
That
and
might be part of the ADHD too kicking in. It just gets boring to me
no,
because
I think though what you said earlier about being the visionary, I resonate with that a lot. And between me and Julie, Julie's the one that's leading the team, not me. I don't have the patience or the time,
right,
nor
right.
do
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah.
Now, God bless Julie's soul for being that person and having all the patience in the world and just, yeah, we'll teach you, develop you. I'm like, you either get it the first shot or leave me alone. So
Right, right. If you haven't figured it out, I'll put up with it for so long, sometimes way too long, but there's just no room here for not figuring it out.
yeah,
That's
but
yeah, that's my mentality, and it's not right. That's why I have to have somebody on the team that fulfills that role because I can't be that. I can't fill that role.
And this is another reason why like teams are having a team or having like we get asked all the time, like, how are you guys best friends and business partners? Well, it's called fucking communication. Like it's called working at it, right? Like it's like and we've had this conversation recently. It's like a marriage, a
And it's
partnership, a business relationship. It's like a marriage, right? Like you know
and
this
it's
because you had a
it's
business partner
staying
that recently
yeah, it's
didn't
staying in
work.
your lane.
yeah,
And it's if you both have strengths, the ideal situation is you don't share the same strengths,
And we
and then you
definitely do not.
focus and you right and then you focus on those. I mean, that's the whole visionary integrator concept of EOS is, and that's another thing I believe in is instead of trying to develop somebody's weaknesses, let's develop their strengths and not try to get them to do something they're just not going to be good at.
This is
or
oh,
that they want to be.
I love this too because this is something Bob Proctor teaches, right? He was like,
Okay.
I listened to his book, Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life, and I literally talk about it in everything, right? And one of the things that he
that was a
says,
big book for me.
it's
That,
amazing. It's
yeah.
amazing. But there's a part in there where he's talking about like him and his business partner, and he's talking about how like they were having this conversation because they've got someone on the team. He's like, the problem with this person is they don't know what they're not good at. So I need to help them see what they're not good at, right? So then
Yeah.
they can focus, because he's like, focus on what you're good at. Do the things that you're good at, and you're naturally going to want to do those things because you're good at them. It's like not everyone's going to want to play football like Tom Brady, because not everyone can play football like Tom Brady.
Right.
Even though I'm not a Tom fan, let's just make that clear. But like, you've got your strengths, right? You want to play to your strengths, and then you manage your weaknesses. So and that's exactly what we do, right? The things I'm strong at, like I'm the one who does those things. Things Emily's strong at, like she's the one in our business who does those things. Because if it's not my strength, I don't want to fucking do it. And I'm
Right.
not gonna, I don't want to get better at it. I don't want to learn how
I'm
to
not
do
good at
it.
it there's a reason I'm not good at
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So where I think that it's valuable to learn a little bit, of these things, there does provide some value, right? Because then you have a baseline, you have an understanding, and if you have to do it, you can do it, right? Because like as a fucking business owner, you've got to, at one
Oh,
point, you got to
right.
do all the shit. You got
Yeah.
to know how to
Yeah.
do it or figure it out. So while there is value in that, it's so much better to know what you're good at, stick with what you're good at, and manage the things that you're not.
Yeah. Like I'm the worst project manager on the planet. Like I cannot, there's no, you cannot put me in charge of a project. As I sit here and wait for my next call, which is with the client that insisted I oversaw the project, but I have people help me. They just don't see it. But
Well,
like
yeah, but you're the one reporting back to them, right? Like you're the
I'm the
figurehead that
one
they
doing the
see on the
talking
project.
and the
Exactly.
explaining, which is what I'm good at. And then yeah, yeah. But I think that's another thing that I think a lot of people don't even understand the concept of focusing on what you're good at and quit worrying about all these deficiencies. Like they're only deficiencies because you thought of something that maybe you might be asked to do that you suck at, when you have all these other things you're great at. Like look at how many people get down on themselves. Whereas if they knew to focus on their strengths and what they were really good at and they could figure that out and go through that process, then you have a lot better good days than bad days. When you're trying to do something you're not good at, that's the worst. So why would we try to put employees through that?
Oh, I think that's a huge key right there, right? Like that's a huge key, because and it kind of reminds me of like the manufacturing days, right? Like where we'd have new temps come onto the line, and I'd have like my team lead and my backup team lead. They'll be like, "We'll know within 2 days." Sometimes they know within hours if that person is
Well,
going to make it or not, right?
you hire somebody you hire them for their strengths. During that interview process, you're not really uncovering many weaknesses because they're talking about themselves and what they're good at. Well, and that's
Well,
why we hire them,
yeah.
right? Like, so why get caught up in improving weaknesses? Like, I just don't think it makes sense. I don't even, how do we get on that topic? What manufacturing were you in?
So we both used to work in automotive manufacturing
Wait, where?
in Indiana. Well, I worked in Wisconsin for Cummins for a year. That's when I lived up there, and then in Indiana for almost 7 years.
My father-in-law worked at the original Willys Parkway Jeep factory. Like the original Willys Jeep factory, he worked there. I think he was there like 25, 30 years before he retired. Needless to say, I think I've owned like 12 Jeeps. You still get a really good deal on them.
That's funny. That's funny. But yeah, I mean, you learn really, really quick. I feel like you learn really quick in that industry. Like you play to your strengths, or you will not survive.
Well, and you're a part of a process. So if
Yeah.
you fall behind, everybody knows it. Or if you're not catching on, there's nowhere to hide. There's
One
nowhere to hide.
hundred percent. That's a really great way to put it.
But I
Yeah.
think today we've given people a ton of opportunities to hide. And that's another thing that makes it difficult to uncover people that aren't performing or aren't good at something they're tasked with doing is because there's so many opportunities to hide, especially in a remote work environment. It's not always
Mm.
evident why there's an issue. There's a lot of digging that has to be done to figure out why somebody's not excelling or a project's not moving forward, because it's like that manufacturing is a great example of everybody knows where the weakest link is and there's no way to hide. But nowadays,
Well, that's not true. There
well,
are
okay,
plenty
I
of
guess,
people who find ways to hide.
but
I could tell you
depending on
stories.
on the role. But when you're talking about
Yeah.
that assembly line and
Mhm.
everything's required on everybody doing their job in a timely manner, whereas today we have there's a lot of opportunity to not be able to uncover those things quickly. I think that's a challenge too, is uncovering the weaknesses in the organization when it's a fully remote organization, because we can't see everybody's habits and we don't really understand how the team works because we're not there seeing them work every day. So it's harder to uncover the weaknesses or
So, okay, let
deficiencies.
me ask you this. Like, do you have KPIs that are set for your team?
Yes, and we didn't, when the team was bigger, we didn't have the focused KPIs and um the focused KPIs and the oversight. Now we have that, and it's easier to identify, but it's also we're automating more and more. So there's even less to identify because we're automating more with AI. So as that as that number of things that people are responsible for gets smaller, it's easier to figure out where the system's broke. So all right, we have 6 minutes and two.
We do. So,
Uh,
any
See
last
how easily this could go to like 2
I
hours?
know, it absolutely could. This is why our first conversation was 2.5 hours. Um, Emily already asked you the words of wisdom to your younger self. Um, for anyone who is trying to break out into a new business or in a new as a new entrepreneur, what's one word of advice, or what's, a snippet of advice that you would give them?
Product market fit.
Ooh,
I've seen more people fail trying to sell something nobody wanted than any other single point of failure across everyone I've ever seen trying to start a business. Is you have to be selling something people want. It's like that analogy where somebody said, it was a professor who guaranteed he would give anybody in his class any advantage they wanted. And he knew he unwaveringly, he would outsell them no matter what. They all were like, oh, the cheapest prices, I'll have this, I'll have that. And it was selling food. And he was like, I just need hungry people. And he knows he's going to sell. So
yeah.
I've seen so many people try to sell something that nobody wants. And that's always been the companies that I've seen fail. So you have to have that product market fit and you have to know people are willing to pay for it. Or you're not going to get anywhere. And it has
All
to,
right.
oh, okay. Anyways, that's it. Yeah, good.
Last question.
Okay.
This is going to be a fun one.
This is about my
What is
mom.
It's not about your mom. It's not about your mom. What is your favorite characteristic of Alf?
Oh my God. Favorite character. So, okay. And I don't know if anybody knows, there's an Alf over here in my office. And the reason, so the favorite characteristic is he just said what was on his mind. And he kind of did what he wanted to do. How many times was the cat in the
Yeah,
microwave? Hey,
I
Willie.
know, right? Always trying to eat the cat. Always trying to eat the cat. I would say mine would be the sarcasm.
Okay, yeah.
100% it would be the sarcasm.
But he was doing that, just he just said whatever he wanted. Like
Yeah,
he just
yeah.
totally was like, yeah, oh my goodness. One of those Alfs speaks. That's all I'm going to say.
That's kind of creepy.
So my wife
All right.
actually got them at an estate sale. That's how they ended up here.
That makes it even a little bit creepier, I think. Just for me personally, I don't know why. So
What is that? Oh, there's a cat.
I love this. I love I love all of this. So where can people find you if they want to work with you, if they want to learn more about your marketing services?
Well, they can
and what
start
you
by
do?
watching this video, which is kind of not good to say now because they would have
At
to
the
watch
very
it.
end.
So they can reach out to me at my personal website, Lizik, Lizik.com, or Redshift DM, as in digital marketing, redshiftdm.com. And both are Jeff at jefflizik.com or Jeff at redshiftdm.com.
Perfect. All right, Jeff. Anything else you'd like to add in there, Emily?
Not that I can do in 2 minutes.
No, I'm good.
All right, Jeff. Thank you so much for
So,
coming on today. We
no,
appreciate it.
thanks for having me, ladies. And just email me later today to schedule the next one. We can do it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
This is selling, right?
So yeah, right. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day and a good weekend, and I will talk to you later.
Thank you so